Can I get sick, very sick, with emotional problems, with emotional issues? And if it's like this, how to know what is really affecting me?
You know, the thing is that we've been taught to stifle our emotions, our thoughts. We're always protecting our images. And all of this accumulates in the body. It's stress. So when we have a body full of stress, what happens? It can't heal. It can't function in its optimum capacity. When the body's clean, it can heal itself. And so many people start to do work on themselves, start to liberate stress, start to upgrade the central nervous system, and the body has the capacity to heal. You don't know what's causing it, and it's not always the same. But once you start to liberate stress, it will start to become clear to you where a lot of the stress is generated from. You'll start to see the places you've abandoned yourself. You'll start to see the places where you're not loving yourself. And that's all you need to do. Focus on consciousness, not on what's wrong. Surrender to what's going on. Obviously, get medical help if you need it. But bit by bit, everything will start to change.
Soy nueva. I don't like to feel sadness, and I don't understand what is to be holding myself, to be with myself, and how is this helping me. I feel that I'm not healing anything. Can you explain? I'm new.
Okay, so the thing is this. We have to liberate everything internally. And you have to surrender to what's happening. You know, this is a deep process. It's not a Band-Aid. It's not a simple thing. You're going right into the depth of your being, and you're healing your life. What's happened in your life? Lots of things. Lots of wonderful things, and lots of things that affected you profoundly. Loss, fears, abandonments, all of these things are recorded in the central nervous system. So you have to allow them to leave. And if you're crying, it's a great thing. You know, when I was healing myself, I was crying for 6 months. 6 months. And I was someone that never felt an emotion. And it was coming from deep within me. And I started to see how little I'd loved myself. I started to see that I abandoned myself all the time. I started to see how I was always looking to feel bad, not good enough. And I had to heal all of those circles. So if you're crying, que bueno, great, you're healing. You know, and remember, this system is deep. And it's going to leave you with a beautiful experience of internal consciousness. A place of peace and joy that will sustain you. And from that place, you can start to reconstruct your life. Because when those foundations are full of sadness, stress, limitations, belief systems based in fear, they can't sustain consciousness. They can't sustain anything of value. But when you build your house on love, everything flourishes. You know, when it rains, we don't say, oh, I hate the rain. We might say that, but we need the rain. You know, we have to flow and adapt and just surrender to what is. And once you start to surrender to what is, you stop suffering. Because really to cry is liberating. But it's your judgment that makes you suffer. Oh, I'm sad. Oh, this is bad. Oh, this was meant to heal my life. I'm not growing. I feel worse than ever. I felt better before. This is your ego. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. And the more the head chatters, the more you know you're healing.
How to feel the well-being that I achieve when I unify for longer, when I'm interacting with the outside that irritates me and drives me crazy. What do I do?
So, firstly, you have the facets that you can use in every moment. And everything that happens outside is an opportunity for you to choose. To choose your consciousness by using the facets. And if you need to liberate something, it's because it's internal. It's inside of you. It's not happening to you. If it wasn't inside, nothing could be provoked. So, I use the facets with my eyes open, and I'm cultivating more consciousness in action. It's in your hands, but it's going to take a little bit of time to have that permanent experience that you have when you unify. So it's just about continuing and keep choosing for the facets. Choose for the love, and that's what the facets are. The experience of love.
If I have clarity about a change in a style of life that I want to do, how I will transform the fear and being able to trust in what I feel?
You know, we have to look at life. It's a limited period, right? And you need to just do it. You know, the worst thing would be get to the end of your life with regret. Oh, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. If I wasn't so afraid, I could have done this. So what do? Firstly, I anchor in consciousness. And then I start to trust. In each step, I'm trusting and trusting more.
Why we are so afraid to detach?
Because we think love's outside. And we think that love is to have. I own. It's mine. My children, my husband, my job. But all of these things are external. And when we don't have love internally, we attach to the love externally. When we have love internally, we can give love to the outside. And it has nothing to do with attachment. Love is not attached. Love's empowered. And it allows others to be empowered. And love starts to see that I do not own that. Every person is having their own experience. Every person has their own unlimited possibilities. And when you love yourself, you trust in that. There's no attachment. You know, humans always want contracts. You know, we get married, we stay married forever. Even if we're in absolute misery, we prefer just to keep doing it. Better what we know than what we don't know. And life's not like that. We evolve, we change, we move. Everyone does. This is the beauty of life. Evolution. Evolution. So move with the evolution. But find internal consciousness. Feel secure within yourself. Stop attaching to other people. And remember, you will always create exactly what you can handle. And as you start to expand consciousness, you won't be ruled by fear. And love is freeing. It's freeing. It's not attached.
Even if it makes me suffer, I go back to old patterns where I'm not feeling comfortable and I'm tired of continue doing the same thing and I want to change, but how?
You know, you're breaking patterns of a lifetime. And they will repeat and repeat. And each time you'll start to break, and eventually it will disappear. But don't be violent with yourself. Don't be exigente. Oh, I should have broken that. Oh, I'm doing it again. You know, you're changing the programs of your life. And the energy, it will start to diminish in the vibration of love. So just trust in that. And don't keep looking at what's going wrong. Stop feeling like a victim. Just allow everything to happen. Oh, I did it again. Oh, well, I won't do it next time. Oh, I did it again. I won't do it next time. Yeah?
Why, when I unify during the day, I feel very calm and very happy. And at that night, I wake up in anguish.
You know, when you unify, you're expanding your consciousness. And then it's stabilized to a certain space. But then, in your sleep, you start to move stress. And your consciousness diminishes. And you wake up, and sometimes you feel anxious. You probably felt like that all the time before. But you're always running away from it. So just use the facets, go back into that place of peace, and just allow the consciousness to expand. This is very normal. Oh, I felt so stable. Oh, it contracted. It's perfect. Just put the facets there. It's just your body releasing energy. Releasing the stress that you've accumulated over a lifetime, no?
I feel confused. I have many choices to take, many options available. And I talk about career, relationship, which country, which city to live, and so on. How can I have clarity about all those choices to take?
You know, you're scared to make a mistake. You want a guarantee. You want a contract that you're going to do it well. And life's not about that. It's about experience. Millions of different experiences. And aren't you lucky? You have so many options. So choose one and give it 100%. Don't stand still because you're scared you're going to make a mistake. Because what happens? Everything's an experience. It's not an outcome. Each moment is a new experience. If you're present, you're evolving and growing. Every moment should be joyful, without the fear. You know, life's to be lived. It's to be enjoyed. Choose to be the love, not this fear, like you're going to lose something. Because you can't lose anything that's real. Because it goes everywhere with you. It's always there, eternally.
My longing for freedom is pushing me from within, but I don't know where to go and what to do in my life and my world.
You know, you just have to open. And you have to trust in your heart, the song of your heart, and just allow it to unfold. You know, it sounds like you're in a moment of healing, and internal is freedom. The outside's the same. It's a big mirror showing you. So if once you find that internally, it doesn't matter what you do, where you go. Just choose whatever makes you happy. But freedom is beyond the mind. It's a matter of the heart. The mind's never free. The ego's always in limitation. It's always in duality. The heart has a big yes to life, a big surrender, a big flow. This is what's important, the heart. And that's where the freedom is. Because once you realize your true essence, you're automatically free. The cage is self-imposed, but the door's open. You just have to walk through it.
Since I was a child, nature, animals, I love nature and animals, and seeing the planet that gets back to be clean because the human beings are more in their houses because the pandemic, I get so happy. How to make sure that after this process that we are living, everything will continue being clean?
You know, I think all humans are starting to realize. They're starting to visualize the changes, no? They go outside and there's animals in the street, things they've never seen before. And I think everyone's becoming more conscious. This COVID's been a big shake for humanity. Why? Firstly, we have to go in. We had to stay in and live with whoever we were with. And then when we went out, we could see the changes. So it's been like a big awakening. And I think it will continue. I think people are becoming much more environmentally conscious. I think people are much more conscious of their health, their immune systems, the value they need to give to the planet. And I think it will continue. And with the networks, we're all communicating about this. Everyone's giving gratitude for this. And I think we're starting to not take things so much for granted, because we can see how fragile we are. We are so fragile. The planet's not fragile. It doesn't need us. It continues. The rivers, the oceans, the animals. Why? Because they flow with reality. They don't have judgments. They're just here. The complication is very clearly the humans. But that's changing as well. As we evolve in consciousness, things will change. I believe this. That's my focus. Each person self-realizing and really appreciating the magnificence of this planet and the gift that is life, and giving the best to that life.
it's very difficult to work in group. So how can we have this idea of working together globally with one focus? Is this possible? How?
I think more it's informative. You know, every human has to take responsibility for themselves. And you say, oh, working in group is difficult. Why is it difficult? Because there's so much ego. Everyone has an idea. And everyone thinks their idea is the greatest. And it's not like that. We have to focus on one thing we have in common. And that's the consciousness, the love. And when we focus on that, then we can really start to change. But it starts with each individual. You know, there's so many communication breakdowns, so many ideas, so many limitations. But once humans start to realize that we're all one, we've all always been one, and there's nothing to be afraid of, this will start to happen. And we can make initial progress, especially with ourselves, but then in our own environment and through our education systems. We can teach the children the importance of unity, the importance of sustainability, the importance of being able to be in the present moment and to focus on praise, love and gratitude, not just in achieving and doing and competing, the importance of giving. And I think fundamentally it has to start within the educative system. And we're trying to implement that. You know, the world evolves. We think it's slow, but it's evolving. In reality, there's nothing wrong. It's just consciousness and evolution. And that's eternal. It never stops. It just keeps evolving and evolving and evolving. And at some point, all humans will start to live in their hearts. And once that happens, everything changes. But it's a process. But enjoy the process. Stop worrying about what we have to fix and just enjoy the process. Because you are what you seek. That's the big joke of life. It's within you. You just have to connect with it.
I lost health, work, relationship. What is left? How to find what really am I and what is life?
Well, isn't that great? Because now you can find you, but your true essence. And this is why these things happen. So you can come home to yourself. And the same thing happened to me. I lost everything. Everything. And I had to find myself. And once you find that, everything changes. And there's no reason. It just is. To evolve, to enjoy, to create, to be, to give, to love. All of these things are part of the human experience. Go inwards, allow your body to heal, stop attaching to your lost relationship, and create a new relationship with you, based in love and appreciation. And from that space, everything will start to change. Everything.
What is the emotion that is in the present moment? How will I know that I'm there?
Because you won't be thinking, what is the emotion in the present moment? That will be very clear. You'll just be enjoying the moment. Joy. You know, when you're in the moment, you're connected with everything. You hear everything. You see everything, you smell everything, you can listen to everything. But most importantly, you can listen to yourself. You can listen to your heart. And that's the most beautiful music that exists. You know, when you're present, you can enjoy everything. When you're questioning, you're not present. You're in your ego, you're in your intellect, which is basically the same thing. And you have to just keep going back inside. And when you're completely in the moment, you'll know. You'll know. You go, oh, I'm in the moment. And you'll be clear. Because all of a sudden, a new world will open. Every aspect will open. And you will trust in that. You trust in your internal experience. You trust in your intuition. You trust in you. And you'll be able to flow and say yes.
I always run going away from that dark part in myself. Everybody rejected that part of me, and I learned to reject it too. How can I get close to that now?
You know, there's always two energies, positive and negative, dark and light, masculine and feminine. And it all has to coexist. Of course, you're choosing for a higher vibration, but you're having a human experience. So what does it matter? You have to embrace everything. There's no such thing as a dark side. It's just an aspect of you. And maybe it's immature. Maybe you can let it go. But this system insists that you love every aspect. And then you can evolve beyond that. But stop judging it. Expose it. What happens if you bring a shadow to the light? It disappears because it's not real. Nothing's real that isn't light, that isn't love. It's just an illusion. You turn the light on, what happens? The darkness is gone. The monsters have left. Because you have clarity. So you have to expose everything, especially the things you judge, and love those parts. And everyone else has the same parts. Everyone.
I feel that the flow is like exactly the opposite to the story of my life. Did you flow in your life?
I didn't flow. I raced. And everything was never fast enough. And I had fixed ideas about everything. And I focused on that. And I went. And I got it. And then I wanted something else. And then I did it again. And I did it again. And I did it again. And it was always in my way. Did I flow? No. I did it in my way. Now I flow because I know whatever I'm moving towards, the easiest way to do it is to say yes and flow. Because for me, ultimately everything's the same. It's all wonderful. Fighting against the current is just exhausting. Not trusting in your creation, it's just exhausting. But to surrender and flow and say yes, even when it's completely against what you want, something much better's coming. And this is what we have to trust. You know, life is like this. It's a leap of faith. But humans want to control everything, change everything, so they feel safe. But that's an illusion. When you start to say yes and flow, then you're safe.
There is too much stress in my body, too much pain. Do you suggest the facet will help me? What do you recommend?
You know, we have to use the facets, and they'll start moving everything. We have to use the filters, which is drinking water, feeling emotions, and getting exercise. It's important that you express to the teachers and allow everything to leave. You know, the reason we're like this is because we're full of stress. Why are we full of stress? Because we've been stuffing everything for all of our lives. And now it's time to change. The facets are like sticks of dynamite. They'll start to move everything. You just have to have a yes. And it will all happen perfectly.
I'm practicing your system since the summer. But even if I follow many, many paths for many, many years, I would love you to give me the trust that I will be able with your system to integrate the love in my life and dissolve really the fear. What can you tell me?
You know, the system will give you the trust because it's going to be your experience. But you have to commit. You don't want to commit until you have a security. And it's not like that. You have to commit. You have to see the changes. You have to expand the love. It's in your hands. It's not outside. I share my experience and the experience of hundreds and thousands of people. And I know this works. But you have to do it. You know, everyone wants a contract. You know, we get married, you're going to love me forever and ever and ever. And we have all these demands. I follow this spiritual path, and you promise me I'm going to get enlightened. Everything's in your hands. But you have to trust. You know, love is a leap of faith. You have to give 100%. And if you give 100%, you get 1,000% back. But that's the only way you can move forward with consciousness. Jumping into the void. Finding the experience of love. Reuniting with it. Because that's who you are. The facets, love, creates me in my perfection. Well, what is that perfection? It's your divinity. It's the love consciousness. And it's in you. And it's creating everything. But you have to trust and commit to yourself. And that's the hardest thing for humans to do. They never jump in with both feet. They always have, just for the doubts, a foot in each boat. And what happens? You end up falling in the water. Put your feet in one boat and give it 100%. And look for support.
I'm very confused because I'm with a very important person in my life, but I'm not sure if to want to spend time with him or to be missing him, that's love or is attachment? How is the love without attachment?
You know, firstly, stop worrying. Just love 100%. That's the most important thing you can do. That's the first step towards full consciousness, the capacity to love, to give love in every moment. And as you expand your own consciousness, it'll be very clear what is attachment. because the attachment makes you suffer. But don't jump into your head. Just enjoy yourself. Focus on consciousness. Expand your consciousness. And the first way you'll see that you're not attached is if you don't want to change him. If you're not attached to him being a certain way. Is it possible? Not until you expand your consciousness. Everyone's needy. Everyone has demands. And you'll start to see. And then you start to change. But just enjoy it. You don't have to dissect everything in your life. Just enjoy. Be in the moment. Enjoy the relationship. And then start to witness yourself. Oh, am I worrying about losing him? Oh, am I in the moment? Am I focused on giving? Start to watch yourself. And you'll know if you're attached. Because the suffering will start.
How can we find happiness inside us instead of looking for it outside?
Well, that's the whole essence of my system, no? Finding internal consciousness. Finding internal love. Finding internal peace. And then it's mirrored externally. In fact, it doesn't matter what's mirrored externally. Because once you have it internally, you're free. And the irony is, you do start to see it everywhere. Once you find love internally, you're looking through the eyes of love. And then the world changes. And people change. And everything transforms. Because your perception changes.
Why people suffer?
Because they live in their heads. They live in their egos. They don't know the greatness of who they are. They're fighting for attention, fighting for approval, fighting for everything, protecting their ideas, their belief systems. They feel discriminated against. You know, they live in victim consciousness. And as long as you're living in victim consciousness, you will always suffer because you're not taking responsibility for your own happiness. Now, how many people take responsibility for their own happiness? Not many. How many people are mature? Not many. And this has to be the focus. I am responsible for my life, what I'm choosing in each moment. Because things will always happen. If I suffer every loss, every change, I'm going to suffer eternally. If I have fear of death, I cannot live. I have to find my essence. I have to live in that love. And then I won't be suffering, no matter what transpires.
Why we are so afraid of love? Why we desire it and fear it at the same time?
Ay, amor, duele tanto. Because you listen to too much Shakira. Why are we afraid of love? Because we think we're these fragile little things. And we're going to have our hearts broken. And we're not open to receive. Because deep down here, we don't think we deserve it. Because we're not good enough. But none of these things are important. This is our human experience. And we have to go beyond that. You know, you could spend 100 years in the psychiatrist looking at every part of your life where you feel dysfunctional. And I'm not saying those things don't help. But at some point, you have to cut the root of suffering. You have to cut the tree at the root. You can't keep looking at each leaf. Oh, he didn't love me. Oh, because my father was absent. Oh, she abandoned me. Because my mother preferred my brother. Oh, I'm not getting chosen at work. Because I'm not a man. Oh, it's because I'm too short, or I'm too this, or I'm too that, or I'm not intelligent enough, or blah, 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 blah. Now, if you focus on love, love consciousness, all of this will change. And it's a one-pointed focus. Because it will cut the root of fear at the root. And what happens then? It falls. And then you start to see reality. Everything is through the window of perception. It doesn't matter if we're open, if we think love hurts us. Once we love ourselves, once we commit to that love, we're open to all love. We don't have a ticket on it. We don't have a contract. It's just in the moment. It might be forever. It might be for one night. It might never happen. But because I love myself so profoundly, I'm not going to suffer. I might suffer for a little bit, and then I can let go. Because that love doesn't define me. I define me. I define myself. My love. The only thing that's permanent. The love of my life. The person I was born with and the person I die with. That's who you have to love.
The fear to divine punishment, because my rigid religious education always limited me. And when I repeat the facet, it comes once and again.
Isn't it a funny thing? We all say God is love, and yet we think he's this old guy looking at us, ready to punish us. Like he's got nothing better to do. You know, he made the world in a day, or 6 days, or something, and then he spent the rest of his time watching what you're doing wrong. It's so ludicrous. Everything is God. Everything is love. It's your judgment. Your judgment is the old guy torturing you. You have never done anything wrong. You are a creation of love, having a human experience. But I can tell you that. But you've got so much fear because you've been told this all your life, this guilt and the fear of doing something wrong. And you have to go deep, 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 deep. And I'm sure it's the first thing that the facets are revealing. You know, love creates me in my perfection. But I'm a sinner. I was born of sin. I ate from the tree of knowledge. It's the tree of knowledge that makes us suffer. This illusion of good and evil. And it's not real. That's why we shouldn't have touched it. And we would have stayed in Eden. You're doing it to yourself. And it's your ego. Making you small. Telling you not good enough. No, you can't. You're a sinner. Let it go. Love creates me in my perfection. Love creates me in my perfection.
My life is ruled by the should be. How to respect myself in being myself. How to learn that.
You know, it's a funny thing. When you start a sentence, for all my life, I thought. Now, the minute you think that, put a facet. Because that's always the first sentence of the victim. For all my life, I thought I should be like this. For all my life, I thought I should do this. For all my life, I didn't feel like I belonged. For all my life, the minute you hear those words, you have to realize that you're in your head. And you have to drop into your heart and just dissolve it. Choose for the Creator. Choose for the love. Choose for what's within your heart. Because you can torture yourself eternally with your head. But you don't deserve that. You don't deserve that. Just be here now. What's wrong in this moment? Nothing. There's nothing wrong. I just need to surrender and flow. I know this is all very advanced, and I make it sound so easy, but it didn't happen overnight, no? I teach everything from my own experience. And believe me, if you have 60,000 thoughts a day, I have 120,000. I was so hard with myself, so violent. Nothing that I achieved was ever good enough. I had so much fear of abandonment, of not being good enough. And it didn't matter what I did or who I had or how much I had, I never felt safe because I didn't know who I was. I know who I am now. And if someone said to me, you've got 6 months to live, what do you want to do? I'd say I want to do exactly what I'm doing now. And that's what's important. If you're anchored in love consciousness, if you're loving yourself, if you're giving that love to other people and empowering them, once that happens, every moment of your life's wonderful. And every door opens. It's just a thought. But the first thing you have to do is stop being violent with you. And it's an interesting thing because we were talking about the empowerment of women. And women are the worst. We are so violent with ourselves because we're such emotional creatures. And we have to see that. Stop being violent with you. Start choosing the love. Start choosing to love yourself. And then start to give that. Let go of the control. And every time you see that outward movement, because of fear, go back in with a facet. And if you keep doing that, everything will change.